Welcome to our latest ASUN basketball preview, our latest look at Liberty. On the men's side, joining us is their fine head coach, Richie McKay, and also one of their top returning players in Elijah Cuffey. And on the women's side is their head coach, Carrie Green, and one of the top returning players in the ASUN, and Emily Lytle. First of all, for Richie, I'm kind of curious what this has all been like for your group. You had arguably your best season in history. It was cut short, obviously, by the pandemic. And now you go into this with really a very new group.
Yeah, Neil, by the way, hello, and thanks for having us on. Our group last year, we really had a terrific season, not just on the court, but off the court. It was a very connected unit, and I really feel like that team may have had a chance to win and advance in the NCAA tournament. And as you know, that's really difficult to do. But those guys have graduated. Some of those guys, Caleb Holmesley, Scotty James, Maya Baxter-Bell, and Georgie Pacheco-Ortiz, and they did an incredible job of helping us build our brand. But we also have some really good returners and some newcomers. To my right, in my opinion, one of the best in the league and one of the best to ever put on a Liberty uniform. So I think, although we didn't get a chance to see what could happen because of the pandemic, I do think there's a sense of optimism about the coming season, which we know will be very competitive in the ASUN.
Elijah, let me know what it's been like as a student athlete in the pandemic for you. How challenging has it been? And what have the adjustments been like as you're in a much bigger leadership role too?
Academically wise, for me, it's been a little easier. I switched to online, and that's helped me a lot. Give me a lot more time, especially to put towards basketball. And then leadership wise, it's put me out of my comfort zone a little bit, having to talk more to my teammates, but I mean, it comes with being a senior.
Yeah, that might be the longest sentence you'll get from him today, just so you know. Elijah's a great leader, and again, he's really been a catalyst for us, so in our ascension, if you will.
Carrie, your group ended up in essence sharing the championship in the ASUN with FGCU. What was it like for you, and how have you had to adjust in a COVID world?
Well, it's exciting to be in a championship scenario, and the team had started maturing towards the end of the season, and I'm excited for this season because most of those players, including Emily, is returning. So hopefully, I think that leadership will keep us at the top, really competing, and I'm excited to see the maturity that this team will have. I'm really excited. The COVID, everything, every day is different. So it's basically get up and what are we going to do different today? There's just a life full of changes, and it's really hard to fall into routine, and I can't even really imagine from a player's perspective. I think we all love to stay in a routine without changes, and from online classes to do we practice today? Am I out for 10 days or what? Somebody has put me in a quarantine that I didn't even know because they did something, or it's just an everyday different day. We all struggle for a little routine, and personally, I don't like that. I miss the relationships that we can have without being pushed away, cannot spend over 15 minutes with someone. We have to be 6 feet away. Those things are difficult. This is probably about the closest Emily and I have been in probably months. It's difficult from a personal perspective, and I'm sure I'm no different from other coaches or even my players.
Emily, how's it been for you as someone who's gotten close to your teammates to have to adjust to those changes?
It's pretty tough, I would say, like just having to go through all the protocols and limiting us in practice just a little bit. But it's tough. It's tough. Even if it's just allergies or a cold or something, it's kind of like quarantine. It's called quarantine. So it's kind of like I don't know. I feel like, well, we are technically in a bubble, but that's what it feels like.
Richie, give me your feel on this. You've got a young group, a very talented group coming in, but how do you build chemistry and how do you also teach them your system when there are the challenges that Carrie mentioned?
Yeah, I think chemistry is very elusive. If we could find a way to bottle it up and sell it, we'd be millionaires. However, I do feel like Liberty is such a great place. We are afforded an opportunity to attract a really high quality young person, and I'm sure Coach Green feels the same way. So I feel like our group is, from a character standpoint, they're all Americans. Now I think, and what I learned in my 6 years at Virginia with Coach Bennett, when you're in the pack defense, the longer you're in it, the better you get at acquiring some of the habits. And I think for us, it's just having a long view to continue to be patient, invest in the process. I know that's coach speak, but this is a group that character-wise, they have it. Now it's a matter of how quickly we can all be on the same page. And again, Cup will have a lot to do with building that chemistry.
Elijah, how have you grown through all this process, and how do you think your game is better from a year ago?
I'd add to the being more vocal and being having to be more of a leadership role on this team. I think that's like one of the main areas that I feel like I've had to grow. And then on the court, I just feel like getting better at what I'm good at, just like doing my catch and shoots and then trying to become the best defender I can. So I feel like for me, my game is just growing in what I've already been good at.
Carrie, give me an idea of what Emily meant to your team last year, but also from what you've seen so far, how her game has improved.
Well, Emily was playing a game at the end of the season. 2 games into the tournament, she had scored over 50 points, averaging over 25. I don't think you can ask for more from a player. And her efficiency was so high. It's not like she was getting those points by volume shooting. She was shooting like 60% from the field, over 50 from 3, and she was letting the game come to her during that period of time, and that showed a lot of maturity. I hope that she could continue that type of maturity as she goes in, and don't put more pressure on herself. She's very competitive. Let the game come to her, and be a perfect example of new players on the floor and how we want to play together. And I think she really was a perfect example of that at the end of the season, and just let the game come to her. She's now a standing ball player. I think we all sometimes get herself in a bind and jammed up sometimes with her own thinking. And when players are playing their very best, they're in sort of in a routine. Their minds are free. They know how to react. Boom, they react extremely quick, and because they've been conditioned, and they don't have to. They can play with a free mindset. And I hope, and I think she'll come back and she'll show that again. Now, if we can get some other people playing that same way. We certainly need her leadership and her ability to help us in a leadership way.
Emily, what has Ashton Baker meant? Because she's also considered a preseason all-conference player too.
I think she means a lot. I think she holds our team together. As a point guard, it's like, I think that's one of the biggest jobs they have is, the ball's in their hand like 70% of the time. So I think she plays a huge role, and I think she fills that role well.
Richie, we've talked about Elijah and what he's meant to your group and the players that you've lost, but you brought in arguably one of your best recruiting classes ever. So who among that group do you think has got a chance to really impact the group this year and has also shown a lot of progress in terms of from where they came and started to where they are now?
Neil, good question. It's probably a little too early for me to tell you how much of an impact those guys will make. Drake Dobbs, a freshman from Minneapolis or Eden Prairie, Minnesota, he's done a great job, off to a good start. Jonathan Jackson, Justin's brother, who plays in the NBA, played at North Carolina. He's been really good. Micaiah Abi is a young fella from Texas that I think could have a really special career. And then Isaiah Warfield from Pittsburgh. All those guys they've done a great job at the onset of playing really hard, being really coachable, really teachable. But again, it's a little too early to tell. One newcomer transfer from Henderson State, who at a Division II, he was a player of the year in the Division II tournament. Chris Parker, he's done a nice job for us as well. So I think the blend of old and new is still coming together. And as you well know, the NCAA passed a rule that this is kind of a free year for everyone. So we don't have to redshirt any of them. As a matter of fact, I think Elijah would like to announce that he's coming back for a sixth season. If you want to do that again, this is probably our but no, I'm being a little facetious, but I think it'll be a fun year, fun go around. We'll experiment. We got a chance to hopefully get some chemistry early with a unannounced tough non-conference season, and we'll see how they grow up, how quickly they grow up.
Elijah, who's a player who you've enjoyed working with, who you think is really going to have an impact this year in the ASUN?
I mean, Darius. I think Darius is always fun to go at. He's tough to guard in practice and somebody that brings a different dynamic to our team. So, I mean, I would always want to bring up Darius.
And that being Darius Mcgee, who averaged 9.5 points a game last year. Kerry, give me your feel. You've got a couple of junior college players who entered your program too. How have they adjusted to the new system and the changes, obviously, in our world?
Well, I think big eyes. Wow, moving from JUCO to D1 and just making those adjustments. They've adjusted very well, but the level of intensity is just at another level, and it's daily. It's every moment. In JUCO, they could probably turn it on and off per quarter, and halfway through at this level now, they're being challenged with their intensity level to keep it continuous. They're very talented. Two of them, Alyssa was a All-American first team and led D2 JUCO in scoring, and Dee Brown from Miami-Dade South was an All-American as well and led the nation in scoring. So scoring points and putting the ball up in the air is not much of an issue for both of them. They're used to doing that. It's other little details that they're locking in and just trying to stay healthy and keep away from injuries. And I think that's going to impact every team all season long. And I do love this team in that we have a lot of depth and have some young players coming in, and probably I think we're going to surprise some people with a young lady that really was improving towards the end of the season, Maya McMillan Berkman. She's had a good end of the season and great summers, and she's really doing well. If we can keep her healthy, she will certainly help us on the inside.
Emily, from your standpoint, in this environment, do you need to even be a better teammate than you would normally because of all the challenges? And if so, how?
Yeah, I would definitely say be a better teammate, because I know it can be stressful for a lot of athletes of just the time that we're in and having all the setbacks. But I think that has definitely caused me to kind of step up in leadership.
Well, Kerry Green, Emily Lytle, Richie McKay, and Elijah Cuffey, we wish all of you and your teams at Liberty a lot of success this year. And we thank you all for joining us for our latest ASUN basketball preview.